Oops. Yeah, your lip sync was perfectly on. Very good indeed. Let me just go back to the test card. But I've noticed I've got an issue with the sun. If I move my hand here, the sun is no longer reflecting off the lens. So I better try and fix that now.
Right, we have had a short introduction today. A very good afternoon to everyone on frequency. Very good morning to Ed in Brazil. Good afternoon to the guys in the UK, and good evening to the chaps in India and further. This is ZA6YI with our weekly worldwide net, and we have quite a number of guys on today. But firstly, we do wish to express our gratitude to the Qatar Amateur Radio or Satellite Company for allowing us the opportunity to have some space on their valued satellite. We also wish to thank AMSAT DL for their hard work, and Peter in particular behind the scenes to making this possible. Also AMSAT UK and of course the BATC. And we are honoured to have the chairman of the BATC, one by Martin, G4FKK, on this net today. So welcome, Mr. President. Right, today we have the following on frequency. We've got myself, and I'll be discussing a 1-to-4 coaxial toroidal current balance for the Cobweb antenna. Give a bit of background. It had Leon and myself scratching heads quite profusely, but we found the fault. Then we have Benno, Delta Lima Stroke, Papa Alpha 3 Fox Bravo X-ray. He's portable in Germany, obviously. And I had a QSO with him earlier, nice signal, so we look forward to hearing what he's got to tell us. We have ZA6 Mike Charlie. Henry is going to tell us about a ZTE power amp palette that he's been experimenting with. We've got Leon, ZS1 Mike, whose lip sync is fine, ours isn't. And then we have Martin, G4FKK. Hello, Martin. You're going to talk about Litzwire. That sounds very interesting indeed. And then Mike, G0MJW. He's going to talk about the IC9700 band thingy. I presume it's something similar to what Tom's doing, but we will find out in due course. Incidentally, Mike is also the developer of the so-called potty, the patch of the year antenna. Works very well. 90% of guys on the satellite uses a potty. There were two other collaborators with Hans, I know, with Mike, and they did a good job indeed. And then Ed, all the way from South America, Papa Yankee 2, Radio November. And then hello to you, Nick, with the new potty feed. How about that? We just talked about the potty. Golf 4 IMO. And then Bert, if it all works, he says. I did see you on earlier, Bert, but I didn't quite, you had a strong signal, but that was it. Papa Alpha 3 Alpha Oscar Delta. So let me take it over from here. No one else has joined. Let me just see on the other band. Yeah, I have. I've got 850 milliseconds, Mike. I don't know. Some days it works startup, other days it doesn't. But I didn't have time now to go and sort it out. But we'll get it next week. Right, today I'm going to discuss a little project that I was busy on. Shouldn't have been. I've been too busy at the salt mine to do things. But anyway, we have a beacon. And this beacon, it was ZA6 Delta November's beacon. And he had it for years until Dave Larson passed away. Dave was the chairman of Raycol South Africa and the CEO. And then he passed on a few years ago. We were very, very good friends. And old man Frank, ZA6 Golf Echo, worked with Dave. But amongst other things, Dave ran a beacon for decades. And when he passed on, eventually they started to steal gear and copper wire and stuff from the farm that he was on. A nice hillock he had too. So Frank asked if I wouldn't host it, which we of course did. And we did show something previously about it. Anyway, we put up the antenna. Frank put up a nice cushcraft, and away we went, and it was okay. We got reasonable results, reasonable readings, but of late it hasn't been so good, and so it started to annoy both Frank and myself. At one stage we thought of moving the whole setup to my repeater site, but then is it really an example of what's happening? You know, you can go and do a fancy site, and it's not really representative of what's happening. So we thought, okay, I thought, let's change the antenna at one or other stage and get a better omnidirectional antenna. So after a bit of reading, I came across an antenna that was developed by a chap in the UK, and I think he developed it anyway. It's called a Cobweb, and for obvious reasons. So I decided to build that. But anyway, let's just go to the story that was bugging me. Where you see the orange parts, 11, 17, 30, those are below 30. That's just not good. You know, 2 greens in 1 week, that ain't good. So we wanted to improve that. Anyway, on this particular date, it was the 5th of August this year, the beacon was heard 21 times out of 8,341 beacon reports in 8 locations, and there's the call signs that heard the beacon, W. So let me just see, there we go. Those are the guys that saw it. Okay, then without touching anything, conditions started to get slightly better, as you can see, and that was on the 8th of August, and I took one on the 28th of August, or 23rd of August, and it was all green and looking good, so I started to doubt whether I should bother with the antenna, but I still think we should. So that led me to the Cobweb antenna. And this is what it looks like. This is not my one that I built. I just stole this picture off the internet. Mine has been built. We've got everything done except I haven't strung the elements. But now if you look at this Cobweb antenna, you'll see there's a junction box, and they've got this into your coax eventually. So there's an impedance transformer inside here. Now if you look at this antenna, it's really just a half-wave dipole. I'll follow the line on the inner one, and then it stops at an insulator. Then it goes over, and the other side does exactly the same. So this is actually a half-wave dipole which has been folded into a square onto itself. Now, when you do this, you can go and calculate the currents, the vectors on this, and you'll see that the impedance at feed point drops to around about 12.5 ohms. So, okay, now you put all these different bands in parallel, and in theory, I know they will all affect each other. So you start with your highest frequency and you move back and you're going to intertune, and it's a bit of playing around until you more or less get the thing right. Anyway, there's a nice drawing of it. It's not a clear one in this case. I had to enlarge it too much, but you got the idea. So we feed and then you stop. Now there are other ways of doing it. You can have a double wire all across, all around, and then you don't have the insulator. Then you are basically making a folded dipole, which then increases the impedance 4 times. So now the impedance will be quite high. But because you're feeding it down on itself, it then comes to about 50 ohms. So you don't actually need a toroidal transformer. So to be able to transform this match there, we were looking at a toroidal transformer. And so to measure the thing, you have to build a bit of a dummy load. So I thought, all right, let me take 800 ohm resistors, and I took a piece of copper tubing and just smacked it in with a hammer, nice and flat. And I thought, okay, I will make the box so that I could couple my antenna elements. And this box, in this case, is just the dummy load. So I'll have 2 wires connecting to the main box where I'm going to have all the elements come into, you see. Okay, so eventually we put this on, and let me tell you, it doesn't work. There is too much reactance, and whether it's capacitive or inductive reactance, we can measure it. It's not good. So this actually was a waste of time. So a lesson learned. However, we made a balun. Now the idea is this is what we call a current balun, and if you just consider this, normally you'll have one, and you take 2 pieces of coax, 50 ohm coax, and you then will eventually join them. So you will parallel these 2 pieces of coax. So if it's 50 ohm and 50 ohm, you'll get 25 ohm at that point and 25 ohm at that point. You do the same with the bottom one. There I've drawn both. You do the exact same with that. So this is what you'll have. If you parallel all these sides, you get 50 ohm plus 50 ohm in parallel gives you 25 ohm, and the bottom balun 25 ohm. And if you then parallel that, you should get 12.5 ohm at that point. On the other side, though, we then go into series, because now you'll have 25 ohm there, impedance, 25 ohm there. You take this one's hot wire and you connect it to that earth. You connect that hot wire to your center coaxial cable going to the radio, and you take that earth and you put it on the earth side, which I'll show you in a minute. This is not too clear, but what I wanted to show is, firstly, the previous drawing. This was made using RG400 cable. It's all I had available. It was suggested 316, but anyway. So we put it up, and before I did this, I connected the one hot wire on the red side here, that's my 5 buzz bars, to the different antenna elements, and the earthy side there, and I got a crazy SWR. Sent it to Leon to second guess, and we just couldn't figure out what the heck's going on. So we suggested, or Leon suggested, we put some RF into it. So I've got a little 705, and I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll try the 705. I got equally bad results. And then I changed the load, the 12.5 ohm load. I got a 12 ohm resistor with a 5% tolerance, which brought it up to about 12.5 ohm. And because I was going to pump about a watt or so through it, I didn't want to get too hot too quick. So I took a piece of aluminium, drilled it, and made this a press fit with the... So there is a little bit of inductive reactance and a bit of capacitance there. But okay, put that on, and it worked quite a bit better. You can see it's a bit of a sloppy arrangement. And I got a reasonable SWR. It wasn't fantastic, and the return loss wasn't good at all, about 11 or so, 11 dB. So it wasn't nothing to write home about. So I thought, well, hang on, let me cut off that little dummy load, that one resistor, and take another resistor and go right up to the tip there as I'm drawing it, and make it as short as possible. My goodness, things started to improve. So now I got about a 15 dB line, a return loss. SWR was not too bad, not fantastic, but it was getting a bit better. So I thought, okay, though we're on the right track. Something's happening, but that's still with the bigger cable, the RG400. Anyway, we were playing around with that, and things started to improve slightly. I was still under SWR of 1.7 to 1, not fantastic. And so I then redid it, made it much shorter, as you can see there now, and tried it again. And yeah, that looked more like business. We were just over 1.3, 1.3, and return loss of about minus 15. Okay. So then I decided, let's make a new, my cable arrived, this little a 316 arrived. So it's much easier to wind the coil. And now you can quite clearly see what I was saying. All those are paralleled. All the earths are paralleled. All the centers are paralleled. If you look carefully, I have a resistor soldered on. And then I just made the red for my hot wire. The center two are joined in parallel off to the center conductor. And then the center conductor of the blue one couples to the earthy end. So it's going in series. And then the earthy side of that goes to your plug again. You see, your socket. So fine. Built that up, and my goodness, much better result. And that was between 14 and 28 megs. Now, this is not a very clear picture, so I will just do the following let me show you that way. That should make it a bit clearer for you. Let's just see. Yeah, there we go. You can more or less see what's going on. SWR, very good, 1.0506 to 1, and the return loss of between 25 and 30 dB, or very close to 30 dB. So I was quite satisfied with that. Much, much better result. Now we're getting closer. Now the thing is starting to become workable. Anyway, so we played around and discovered, I thought, right, I need to now bring these 2 points, the outputs to the antenna, closer together, not as far as what you see in all the pictures. And the reason why, because I wanted to make this balun measurable. So if I put 12.5 ohm over the points, I should read 50 ohm, at least that part of the equation sorted. Then I can play with the antenna and get things going from there. But if you don't know where you are with your balun to start off with, you've got nowhere to go. Anyway, so drilled the 2 holes and then drilled them out for the studs, and I just flipped the box around, marked the center for the SO239, just used wood type equipment, easily popped it, took the little socket and used the holes to mark, drilled through, and there it is. Next time I build a thing like this, I won't have these lugs. I'll just have flat spade lugs. This became a nuisance. And also, I'll actually move these 2 points even closer, because to be talking 12.5 ohm, the further you go, the higher the impedance. Think of a 600 ohm or a 300 ohm line. So I will even bring them closer. But it's, you know, now we're starting to split hairs. Now the next trick was to put the 316 balun in there, the RG316. So it was too long, as you can see. And this is a bit of a mix-up. It's not so easy. It looks easy. So anyway, I trimmed the stuff and eventually got it in quite nicely. Next time I do this, I'll build this closer together. I'll take the earth and then solder it there, and then just have the hot wires over there, and that will even improve matters, although it is very good as it is now. It's as good as textbook. Anyway, so it's all neat and tidy. The only little bit of CNC work we did was to put the call sign in, and also let me just go to the next slide. And I painted it was milled out, and then I just painted it. But the paint was wet when I took the photo, so I haven't had an opportunity to block it with 1500 paper, and that will then make this all a lot crisper. That's a little bit of, shall we say, bleeding out the edge, but I'll sort that out, and it'll be, you know, like it ought to be. Perfect. Anyway, it still hasn't been done. I must still do that. But now you can see that's a little balun done, and that's the resistor over there. That's now a 12.4 ohm. It was good enough to at least determine that this part of the thing now works. Right, so there you can see with it in its box and all, and don't forget you do have a little bit of reactance with those 2 pins, you know. Now I'm being hypercritical because it's a beautiful graph. And by the way, this is a graph from 1 meg to 30 megs, but I'll just show you a better looking one. Let me just get there, sorry guys. We take that off, and let's go from 1 to 30. There it is. You can see it's a lot better, you know, at points, lower in frequency, obviously, but very acceptable reading. I'm quite happy with that. And so we moved on. Let me just go back there and look at that reading. That was quite not bad. By the way, that second reading that you see there is, I then did exactly the same with the LMR, the RG400. because at one stage we were in doubt, maybe the capacitance in the coax cable is different to the 316 and that's why it wasn't working. Well, in fact, it does work. RG400 has a higher voltage, so you can put more current through it, or wattage if you needed to. But the 316 can do 300 watts. We're only going to run 100 watts, so all's good. But I just wanted to test. So it proved that it's very, very critical what you do, how you terminate it, where you terminate it. And that was a good lesson learned. So anyway, the next is another curve, as you can see, very nice. The previous one was the RG400 and then back to the 316, RG316, so all good. And then a Smith chart just to show you it's very nicely in the circle. The only 0.1 difference, that's textbook. But let me give you a better graph so that you can see it clearer. There it is. You can study that. We can also amplify that graph, etc. And so that all works. Now, what I'm going to do, just going to get out of here, come back to, I'll just want to call up this. I'm going to do an actual curve while we sit here, just to show you in live how it works. And let me take my face away if I can get that. Camera's off. Right. This is, I've got this little balun, a couple to a 12.5 ohm resistor, and it's just lying on the ground, so there is a bit of metal in the concrete, etc. But anyway, I'm going to run from 13 megs, as you can see there, to 14.5, and I do the scan, and you can see it scans quite nicely and quickly, and it's flat. So that's the one way. Now we can go to different bands. We can say, let's go to 15 meters and do the same, and it's quite flat. Now what we can also do, let's say we are going to actually construct the antenna. We've now got the balun in its place. We know the balun works. We know that at 12.5 ohms it reads correctly. So from that point you can continue. Now you put your first bit of wire around, the washing wire, you know, for the cobweb, and you start wondering where's resonance. So what you can do is you can go up to your setup. You can say, let's plot the phase and let's do a scan. Now it will be in purple. So there we go. All right. So now you'll see at 21 megs, it's virtually resonant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the frequency limit just to explain. We'll go, say, 13 megahertz, and we'll go to, say, 25 megahertz, just for fun. Enter that, and let's scan. It will take a little bit longer because it's a bigger frequency, but you'll see the purple line in the middle now will suddenly cross the axis, and that where it crosses the axis is resonance. So now that's what you do when you tune up your antenna. You try and get your antenna as close to resonance as possible, and then you measure the impedance. And you'll see it around about 21 point something megs in this particular case, and that's just a fluke, by the way. You'll see that's where the resonant curve goes through. That's where your reactance is 0. In other words, XL is equal to XC. And but you can see the SWR curve is quite flat. Now you can go and read up top here, and it says 1 to 1. And as you play with this, you can go up and down. You can read everything right there. And we're looking at 21 megahertz, more or less. That's a resonant frequency. SWR 1.11. I mean, that's as good as you'll get. But okay, never mind that. What I wanted to demonstrate is that with this, you can get the resonance of the antenna sorted, and then you play with the impedance. And hopefully, it will be close together. Look, if it's up to 1.5 to 1, I'm happy. It's not much loss, really. I mean, we are now really starting to split hairs. But it's going to be interesting to do this exercise in a methodical sort of way, you know what I mean, so that we can see where we're going. All right, so that's about the story. Let me just get the camera back on and get the graph off. And that's what I was playing with this weekend. It's been quite a bit of fun, and learned a bit. Interesting, practical stuff. Right, with that, the next guy on frequency shall be none other than Benno. If you can come right and tell us all about what you're doing. So, Foxtrot, Papa Alpha 3, Fox Bravo X-ray to please take it from Zulu Sierra 6, Yankee, India.
So, let's see if I have a little bit video. Hi guys, lovely signal as always. Why is that stopped running? Am I wrong again? I'm not sure. Let's try this. Well, it should run perfectly. So I think my reception is stopped. Well, I think my reception is stopped. I think it should be okay. See, my signal is on the air and it's running as it is. Okay, great work, Gary. Thank you for the presentation. To be honest, the DC bands never took my interest much. And I always thought just take a thumb lead and it works. You proved me different, and that's great, obviously. By the way, next to me is another ham, Papa Echo 1 Lima Oscar November, who is normally watching the net occasionally on internet, trying to get organized his set at home. But he's interested in also DATV, but his home is behind some big trees, and that obviously makes it quite a bit different and difficult to get online. What are we doing this weekend? Well, to show you some pictures I made from above. Let's see if we can show you that. Okay, this is the area where I am at the weekend, which is the local club station Delta Lima 0 Zulu Zulu. We are yearly in this weekend gathering the German and Dutch hams and have a nice meeting, talk about our hobby and all the other stuff, but even involving the national, the chairman of the area, and making our presentation to the world from this end. Well, this is the area. Like I said, the big antenna on the upper right corner is not for ham, but that's just a telecom. But you can see different various antennas here from a bit lower point. Even a small video would be available if I take the right one to get an idea where we are around. Let's see if I have the video running. Okay, so that's what I was doing, and during this weekend, obviously, this station is not used to be active on the QO-100, so I brought with me my big dish. And set up a station and demonstrating QO-100 DATV to the community, which is the visitors which come by, and that is the thing what I did over the weekend. My signal is a bit limited, and that's due to by the way, this is a nice view of the town. Bob Bentheim, which in the middle top is the castle, which is the area around here. So there we are back, and you see some antennas. Okay, let me switch off that one. Move back to the video again. So my big dish, which is here, this is my setup. The box in front where the QO-100, the Pluto and the amplifier running about 70-80 watts. Also Raspberry and mini tuner for DATV, and running the dish with a POTI. Thanks for designing that one. I also can run with a helical antenna, but that will ruin my reception even more. Okay, one other thing I wanted to show you is, let's see if I can get that one else as well in my view. Let me see if I can improve, make that one bigger. Last Wednesday I got in Dominic's new version beta testing 2.04 DATV Easy. Let me make that a little bit bigger. DATV Easy, as you know, is the next idea of Dominic's way of transmitting, creating the FFmpeg pack. DATV Easy worked great, the 1.25, but it needed a lot of CPU resources. On the other hand, it even could work with a original Pluto, so no need in installing Everest grade software. But then again, it needed a lot of CPU resources and having a lot of problems there. Now with 2.04, there is another option of using Everest version of the F5 OEO firmware in the Pluto, and together it is not using the CPU resources anymore, so big. So even on a i5, I've not tested it much, but it runs much smoother and much faster and much easier. On the other hand, it still does the power control and frequency selection, so you don't need the browser to the Everest software anymore. You can do it all directly from the Easy. Let me see if I can quickly, and now I'm getting a very difficult spot because I'm running also the free stream at the moment. I hope I won't influence too much on the free stream, but if you see, this looks very similar to the free stream, and then here you can see the add-on Pluto F5 OEO equipment. So there's the option to use the UDP as we are experienced with using the free stream. So that's about the thing I wanted to show you. The other thing still works, and also the audio sync is working. So even there you can use audio sync to get that perfect, because as we know, FFmpeg will still causing all kind of problems. I've not played too much with it, but it runs, and I've used it during the weekend a few times. But for today, I obviously went back to, as you can see, I can put it on a add-on Pluto, and then it will run with the transport stream with the RTMP to any add-on Pluto which is on the network, but even USB works, as I can see, and also the line still working. But as I would use it at the moment, because my CPU resources are limited on this PC, I would use it on the F5 OEO, solving that problem, and it's running really much faster than I was experienced on the DATV 1.25. Okay, that's about what I wanted to tell you. We have to wait till Demonex releases the final version. There are some updates there as well, and it's at the moment currently beta tested by, well, basically I am one of those guinea pigs. Okay, well, that's all I wanted to add. Let's see if we get that running, if I get my receiving running again, because running about 80 watts still disturbs my internet on the Wi-Fi, which I get here from the local club station, and so I need to restart my network connections after I stopped my transmission. Okay, I think I put it to Henry, Zulu Sierra 6 Mike Charlie, from Papa Alpha number 3 Foxtrot Bravo X-Ray.
Okay, there we go. Right, good afternoon everyone on frequency. Very nice to see the list that is on frequency today, and it's really very nice to be here. I think it's been 3 weeks now that I have not actually been on DATV, so for me it's quite a pleasure to be here today. And even though it's my wife's birthday, we spent a lot of time together this morning and yesterday and so on, and we had a chat, and I said I really need to get on to DATV because my friends must probably think that I've disappeared completely, but I haven't. I'm here. So thanks a lot for the input so far. And Gary, to start with you as I start in the list, I just want to say that was excellent, really very, very good, and that was a lot of hard work. I'm sure there were a lot of hours that went into that experimentation to get it to that point, which is perfection, I would presume. I mean, you called it textbook, so that is absolutely perfection in a practical sense. And I must say that I found it extremely interesting because for me, I'm not an expert on antennas. I don't think I will ever be. But I found it interesting to see what can actually be done, and all the vagaries of electronics and telecommunications within when you actually do your when you do an experiment, or when you want to build something. I think I mentioned to you before that I actually built I also did something similar, but it was a 40-80 meter dipole with a trap and with a toroid and ballon, and unfortunately I never got it to work, so I just passed it on to the next guy who I felt could possibly use it. So one of those things, I can tell you. All right, and then Benno, well done there. Really very nice to see you on and see you at the camping ground doing amateur radio, being there with fellow amateurs, and that must be great. So you must have a lot of barbecues and things like that, and a lot of nice chatting, because I'm sure everybody there has got their own interest in amateur radio. So Benno, good job. Then I also just want to say thank you to Martin, G4FKK, Martin, for getting that package ready for me and sending it off. It will be here tomorrow, apparently. It's in our customs, and it will be delivered to Jacques tomorrow. So I should have my Winter Hill components, which I'm very, very pleased and happy about. I also got all the DigiKey components as well. Obviously, the one thing that was difficult to get hold of were the DC to DC converters, but a local electronics emporium here actually managed to import them for me at quite a considerable price, as you can imagine. But anyway, that is part of the fun of doing what we do. So and to keep our minds active. So my discussion today, or what I would like to show you, is somebody phoned me, another ham phoned me and said, listen, I've got 3 of these boxes and it looks like something that could come from cellular towers, as he put it to me. Obviously, I thought to myself, it comes from cellular transmission equipment, which based on the towers, called a remote radio unit or a remote radio head. And he sent it off to me. I received it and opened the box, then couldn't figure out exactly what it was, owing to the fact that searching the labels, Gary even searched on the labels that I sent him, and we couldn't figure out who the manufacturer was or anything like that. So I decided to open them all up. So it was very, very interesting, because each one had a amplifier module in it, and 2 of them had BLFs, 6G 10, and then I had 6G 20, and the other one had an MRF module, what they call it, a power module in it. So anyway, I then figured out that the one that I'm looking at right now, which I will show you, is actually the one that is used on at the 1800 megahertz band of the GSM equipment band. So this is 1800, and I found that I had one for 700, one for then 700 to 900 megahertz bands, and then this one looks like it is from 1800 megahertz up to 2000 megahertz. So anyway, long story cut short, I also needed to have a proper power supply, because this module, according to the information that I have in front of me, is 30 volts at 18 amps and 5.5 volts at 10 amps maximum. So I presume the 5.5 volts was for biasing, and Gary also thought that, and the 30 volts is actually to drive this. But the actual input to this power supply is 48 volts. In fact, negative 48 volts. And what I did was I powered it up, I put it onto a dummy load and all that kind of thing, put it onto my, I have a power meter here, which goes up to about 4 gigahertz, and then had a look to see if I put input in from the Pluto, what actually happens. And I found that if I go maximum 5 dBm from the Pluto, I get out about 15 dBm. So it is about a 10 dB, and if I varied it, showed that there was a gain of about 10 dB. But unfortunately, I only have a 48 volt power supply, which can push out 4 amps maximum, and it is current limited, and the maximum current that I got out of it was about 3 amps. So that's my story, guys. So if you excuse me for a moment, I'm now going to manhandle the camera, as I only have one camera, and I'll show you what I have here as a matter of interest. So please forgive me. I'm going to move the camera, and so hopefully we can see what's going on. So this is the power supply, and I hope, and I'm going to move it over slowly. And if one looks at this point here, unfortunately it's not zooming too well, but here it says that this thing's output is 30 volts, 18 amps max, or 5.5 volts at 10 amps maximum. And so it carries on, and it's quite a long board, and I'll give you an overhead view in a moment. And then at the bottom of the board there are separate boards as well, as you can see. Excuse my fingers. So it is quite a piece of equipment. This is the power supply. So this is what it looks like from the top. Just want to try and zoom out a little bit so that you can see. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Over here is the palette, and if I zoom into the palette, you can actually see the number on the power amplifier module, and it's a BLF 6G, sorry, BLF 6G 20, and then it's got LS-110. I could absolutely not find any details about this piece of equipment anywhere. It looks like the Chinese certainly don't mention what the equipment does, or they don't have any circuit diagrams, they don't have any specifications, and of course there is an isolator as well on the board. So yes, I'm hoping that somebody could possibly tell me what I'm looking at. I know that it can push out 2.4 gigs, and I know that it can vary with the input being varied and then the output being varied. So yes, so that's my story. The other thing that I can tell you is it is very well made. There's no two ways about it. It's really very well made. It has 4 of these amplifier modules next to each other, so I presume it's two coupled together, and then the output of the 4 are brought together, and then that is pushed into the output. I also think that it can push out about 110 watts, if not maybe a bit more. But that's what we have. What I can show you here, if I point over here, this is the input, the RF input. It uses one of those special connectors, and then over here it actually has got a forward and reverse connector at this point here. So obviously you should be able to measure forward and reverse, and that is the circulator, and that's the output, which then will go to an N-type connector. So that's the story, guys. If anybody has got any input or any discussion, you are most welcome. I do not claim to be an expert on this board whatsoever, but I'm trying to figure out for myself what is going on, and in due course hopefully I can do something. But I think I'm limited by the frequency of the actual amplifier modules, the MOSFETs. I think that's where my limitation is, because this is the design from 1800 to 2 gigs, and we operate on 2.4 gigs. Okay, so let me put this back, and then just be patient for all the movement and so on. And I hope I'm back in view. So there we go. So that's the story from me. So I'll carry on playing with this and see what I can do. And unfortunately, absolutely no circuit diagrams. It is Chinese made. ZTE is the company, which is a Chinese telecoms company, but it looks like it's been well made. So I'm now going to pass it to ZS1MM, to Leon. Leon, I'm passing it to you, and thank you very much for listening and for giving any guidance that there is. Oh, Nick, okay, 1.3 to 1.99G, okay. Thanks, guys. So let me pass it to you, Leon. ZS1 Mike. This is ZS6 MC.
Okay, Henry, very interesting. ZS6 Mike Charlie and the group, ZS1 Mike returning. Yes, I'm sure the devices themselves will probably go a little bit higher. You'll just have to alter the matching a bit, play around with it. And it could be that the second transistor on each leg could be for the Doherty mode. But anyway, you must just sweep it, and make sure you have enough current. Yeah, the positive earth, that standard telecom equipment, they all run on positive earth 48 volts. That's standard telecom. You even get PC computer power supplies that run on minus 48 volts. We once, at the salt mine, they ordered a lot of PC power supplies, and the wrong stuff arrived, and they were not 220 volt AC, they were minus 48 volt input, with all the normal PC outputs, to go straight onto a motherboard. Anyway, okay, right. So yeah, it's a very nice amplifier by the looks of it. It's got nice driver stages and everything, so no extra rubbish. Everything you need is there. Okay, Gary, yeah. Okay, I see you've really finalized the baler now, and it looks very good. The specs are excellent. That's definitely as close to textbook as you can get it. So that's very nice. Benno, yes, that DATV Easy. I was watching a guy during the week. All he said was testing DATV version 2.04. And he tried to break that thing, and he couldn't break it. Now, what I mean by breaking it, if the one that we use is, well, I don't know even what, we're using the Tourenkie. Anyway, when you have a bad system, the moment you have a busy background and you move the camera, the thing will drop out, and all sorts of funnies will happen. Or if you're lucky, the picture will stay on. Like with Henry now, when he moved his camera, it didn't drop out or anything, but it started to make little blocks. You know, when you're panning rapidly with a lot of detail. That guy had the camera close to the ocean with breaking waves, the whole frame full. And everything stayed absolutely crisp and clear. No blocks, nothing, no freezing. So we really have to look into that thing. Gary, that's a thing for you. I know nothing about those things, but I can see that thing works. So we'll have to upgrade to that thing. That DATV Easy version 2.04. Okay. Then Henry, yeah, congratulations to your wife with her birthday. And why are you back in the old shack? Have you been kicked out from that nice cozy place where you were your wife's study or something, you know? Of course, I'm freezing here. It's a nice sunshine day outside, but there's a bit of a wind blowing. But inside in the house, it's very cold. But I'm guessing now the temperature because my thermometer, my digital thermometer with hygrometer is outside in my new workshop, which is approaching completion now. I'm monitoring the humidity in there now. I'm ventilating it. I've got an extraction fan and the windows open because there's so much moisture still in the floor and in the walls from all the years of the bad roof and the gutter that was really a mess. Now I've got this nice roof over the whole lot, so there's nothing else entering from outside. It can rain, it can do all sorts of things. Nothing gets into the building. But to get rid of the old moisture, that is the problem now. At night, it goes up to 80, it used to get up to 84%. Condensing, because in the morning inside the windows it's wet, all the condensation sits on the windows. Then I open the windows, open the door, put on the extraction fan, and then it gets down to about 40% humidity during the day, which is lovely. That's where I want it. But of course I can't leave it open during the night. They'll make a nest in there or steal whatever is in there. There's not much in there. It's still empty because they fitted the new ceiling and everything, so it's nice. But yeah, so the next morning when I get there, it's back to about 80%. But it's dropping about 0.5% to 1% every day. So yeah, I'm working on that. It's going to be a long time before I can actually paint it. You can't paint it when the humidity is 80% and it's still condensing. The paint just it'll be a mess. Okay, what have I been doing the weekend? I was working on a very, very old X-ray machine. That is my 5th X-ray machine. I have 5 X-ray machines now. Now, what do you think? What do I do with X-ray machines? I collect them because they're very handy tools. When you have a sealed module, you don't know how to open it, you don't know what's inside. You take an X-ray picture of it, and then you can see. Anyway, this thing is very old. I got it from the veterinarian in Bredasdorp. That's where my other QTH is. He bought a new one, and he knows that I play with things like that because I've worked on one of his other machines before. And he said to me, he phoned me one day and said, "Do you want this thing?" I said, yeah, no, okay, I'll come and get it, but it's a huge, it's like a Frankenstein machine. I read now the patent is 1922. It's an American thing, so you can just imagine what it looks like. And I took apart the whole timer business. It's still mechanical. FKK would love that. It's beautiful. It's like clockwork inside and everything. I washed the whole lot out, filed all the contacts, and made everything nice. And I tested it this morning, and it's working perfectly. I tested with my Geiger counter. I just put it in front of it and switch it on, and it goes, then you know how it's radiating okay. But this is really, it's an American machine. It's very, very, very old. The first patent is 1922, and then I see there's also a 1925. So, yeah, well, it's from the mid-20s. And it's actually 110 volts. In the controller, I see they've got a big transformer. It's probably from 220 down to 110. But it works perfectly. I remember the guy told me that it was working at that time. It was just mostly overexposing his plates. And he got fed up of that. So I said to him, man, just expose it shorter. But now I realized the timer was too slow. When you set it to like 2 seconds, it was actually doing about 8 seconds. That's why I took apart the whole timer mechanism and washed it all in isopropyl alcohol and stuff and let it run a bit there, and then with very, very fine machine oil, just the little bearings on the gear wheels, and it's smooth now, and it's beautiful. So that's what I've been up to. So hence my thermometer / hygrometer. I cannot see there on the fridge as normally. It's outside in the workshop there. So I'm guessing the temperature. I think it was 14 degrees when I was there earlier this morning. 14 degrees. And it actually went down to something like 46% humidity, which is nice if it'll stay there. But once I close the windows and the door during the night, it'll come up again. Okay, right. Enough from me. Martin, congratulations with your presidentship. I heard that, where was it, on the Thursday net or something? So, good for you. Right, okay, over to you. G4FKK for the group from ZS1 Mike.
Yes, okay, Leon. And thank you for your kind words there. I'm actually the chairman, not the president yet. I think you have to be a member for quite a long time to be the president. I did join the BATC back in the 70s, but then I was not a member for a very long time. Anyway, thank you for that, and also to you, Gary, for saying that. I'll quickly run through my notes. I won't hold it too long because I see we're already nearly at 3 o'clock here. Gary, your lip sync's fine now. The Cobweb, very interesting. Well, the transformer you built is really interesting. And you've just proved theory, haven't you, with the spacing affecting the impedance. So thank you for that. If I ever make anything like that, I shall remember that, Gary. And the Cobweb, the original one, I think, was designed by Steve Webb, G3 TPW, with whom I used to chat a lot on Top Band years ago. Very bright. But he keeps ducks. He's more interested in his ducks, I think, than the technical stuff these days. Anyway, that looked very good. Benno, very good afternoon to you, and also to Papa Alpha 1 Lima Oscar November. I don't think you gave his name, but hello to you. And glad to hear we may be seeing you before too long on the satellite. The ham camp there, perhaps you should call it a hamp. Anyway, that looks very exciting and interesting. And when you did the surround shot, as it were, distinct lack of hills in the way, so that's got to be good. And yeah, DATV easy. I think I saw the same guy, Leon, doing the tests, and it did seem to work very well. By the way, I'm sorry about my washed out image and the fact it keeps flickering every now and again. But the lighting in here is still dreadful. So yeah, that looks like an interesting thing to chase up, Benno. So hurry up, beta testing it. We all want a copy, as it were. Afternoon, Henry. Good to see you. And I was going to ask about the parcel, so I'm glad to hear that's scheduled for tomorrow. And of course, very happy birthday to Mrs. ZS6 Mike Charlie there. And that's all very good. The amplifier modules, I can't really help there, Henry. It looks like other people on the net know more about them than I do. But if the device spec goes up to 2.4, well then maybe you could design your own board or something. I don't know. Sorry to hear it's freezing still in Worcester, Leon. It's a beautiful day here today. It's sunny. It's about 26 degrees. So not it's a bit too hot for me, but not unbearable. And of course, we've got a long winter to look forward to, during which none of us can afford any fuel. So probably all freeze to death. Glad the workshop's nearly finished. Could you not get a sort of big industrial dehumidifier to run in there for a few weeks? That might help dry it out a bit, Leon. And X-ray machine. I did have an X-ray a few years ago now at a hospital, and the health and safety there is unbelievable. You know, lead sheets everywhere, and everyone runs out of the room when they fire it up, and you've got 5 of them in your garage. That's excellent. Top banana. Yeah, I can imagine the technology is quite good. Well, I won't drone on too long. I was just going to ask anyone. I've got some Litz wire here. Let's see if I can focus up. It's not really Litz. Oh, hang on. I'm going to have to see what I'm doing, aren't I? So let's get rid of that. I've written focus on it like you told me to, Mike. Oh, look, there it does what it's told. That's good. So that's the wire. It's actually not real Litz wire. It's many tiny strands of separately enameled copper wire. So I guess it works under the same principle of as Litz wire. But I wonder if anyone's. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm hoping that the enamel on the copper wire will melt with a suitable application of a soldering iron and some solder. But I remember proper Litz wire, you have to dip it in methylated spirits first, and then burn off the cotton-covered insulation. I won't drone on. A friend of mine wanted some. I remembered I'd got some in the loft, and I didn't realise I'd got so much of it. There's quite a few tens of metres of that there. He's busy building low-frequency amplifiers. Yes, they are enamelled, Mike. The whatnot. Lace. No, this thing. No, that's a cover. I'll quickly show you this. This is. I'll need to go over to the shaky cam or the unsteady cam. This is the latest addition to the watchmaking tools. It's a beautiful trinocular microscope on a long articulated boom. So goes all the way over there. This is just lashed up in the shack because, as you can see, the shack is still nowhere near tidy. This is what the microscope's looking at the moment. So it's at the moment I'm just using its USB output, but it's got an HDMI output as well. So it's focusing on the stud there. So anyway, I'm quite pleased with that. Right, I think that's enough from me, so I shall put it round to the next one, who is Mike. Oh, Mike, by the way, that flickering on the Polycom, which is what I'm using today, it's not. I don't think it is actually my HDMI to USB converters, because it only happens on OBS. I was using the cameras the other day on something else, and they don't flicker at all on there. So maybe I'm overloading OBS or something. Anyway, with that, back to you. Well, round to you. G0 Mike Juliet Whiskey, and the Worldwide Net G4 Fox Kilo Kilo standing by.
Right. Thank you, Martin. Watchmaking, eh? That's new. I knew you were repairing them. I didn't know you started making them. So I look forward to seeing the Rolexes that come out of where you are. Right, just a few comments before I start. Gary, that 4-to-1 Balun work, you seem to have got it fixed, which is great. Of course, as soon as you attach it to any antenna, it's probably going to wreck all of those nice matching, but start out as you mean to go on. I put it in the chat, but I think there's a standard spacing for banana sockets of 3/4 of an inch, and you can get all sorts of adapters then, adapters to BNC and things, which might come in handy. So that might be a good spacing to put them on. Too close and you can't really get in and undo them, and too wide, as you say, doesn't work because of the impedance. So very good. Benno, that portable station seems effective. I was looking at your dish. It looks very similar to the one I have up in Bolton. I have a 1 metre dish, but it's rusty. So I get a pretty poor MER on the beacon. I only get something in the region of 7 dB or so. Not great for me, but it's working well for you. But I am a little bit deaf when I'm up there for some of the weaker stations. But I can receive myself if I use a fairly low FEC. But your signal was fine, and it would have been fine at 2/3 for me. But you couldn't see yourself, I guess. Henry, your amplifiers, they look typical sort of base station amplifiers. The palettes themselves don't tend to work on 2.4 gigahertz without a lot of modification. So I don't know if it would be worth doing those modifications. The devices may work. They're probably internally matched, so it's pushing it to get to 2.4, but it might be possible. Some of the devices are matched on the input rather than on the output, and if they're on the input, then you lose a bit of gain, but that's not normally a problem. But if they're matched on the output, then trying to match them to 2.4 isn't going to work very well. So try it and see, I guess, if you've got the time. And of course, the isolators and things on that board, they won't work at 2.4. It's unlikely anyway. Yeah. And Leon, yeah, Martin said it really, but X-ray machines, Geiger counter going off when you switch it on, 8 seconds exposure. There's a reason that all the people ran away from Martin, and it wasn't just Martin. When they were doing the X-rays, it's prolonged exposure to X-rays is not good for you. In the 1920s and 30s, I remember my mum telling me, probably in the 40s and even maybe into the 50s, when you went to get a pair of shoes, the shoe shop would have an X-ray machine to X-ray your feet to do the measurements. Don't have those anymore. But we do have a lot of X-ray machines in airports, and they seem to be much lower power. It'd be nice to get hold of one of those to look inside things. They can detect all sorts of interesting stuff, and it's really good for looking inside sealed units. So I think that covers all of that. Let's get on to what I was going to talk about. So sorry, I know we're going on for quite a long time here. Firstly, what's on the bench? Here we go. So I spoke a while back about this Icon band selector I was developing to work with my IC9700. Now, if you want one of the ones for just the PTT, you could just go and buy one from the DX shop. And they're not very expensive. I think they're about £60, so it's not worth doing your own. But if you want a few other features like band selection outputs, it doesn't do that. So then you have to build your own, and it's quite a simple circuit. Apart from the pinouts of some of the connectors, which can be a problem, I built it fairly successfully. It worked first time. But there's a second iteration of the board now, which means the connectors fit, well, most of them. So let me just go on to the WonderCam and show you it in real life. So it only arrived yesterday, but it took almost no time to build up because there's not that many things to it really. I'll just show you with the WonderCam a little bit more detail. It's got an Arduino Nano Every, it's got a few switching transistors, and it's got interfacing to connect to the radio. Currently it's only connected to the CIV, not to the PTT, so it's only measuring the band. And the idea is, and hence the radio in the background, if I can adjust the camera appropriately, you need to come out a little bit so we can see both at the same time. I'm on 23 SEMS, and the orange LED is one of the LED outputs. Now, as I said, there's no PTT here, but I can manually do the PTT, and you probably see that debounced PTT coming up. If I then decide to select a new band, like 2 meters or 70 centimeters, you can see it all moving. And that's our local beacon. Well, not that local. So all seems to be working. Quite pleased that has done it, and now it's just a matter of debugging the software. So that's what I've been working on. Not much else because I've been busy at work. So back to me, and apologies for my washed out picture. What's happening is this window behind me is putting light onto the front of the camera, and it's washing it out. So if I get Radcom, I've actually found a use for this month's Radcom. If I hold it up in the right position, oops, you'll see the contrast gets better. Well, hopefully you will. So apologies for my not very good picture this week. With that, I guess it goes round to Ed. So over to you, Ed. So Papa Yankee 2 Mike, G0 MJW, put up a test card.
Look at that. The delay of my UDP link is just capturing Martin. I think, Martin, you're my buffer. All right, then. Okay, guys. Hello, everybody. Let me try if I can get this out. All right. Okay. All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. So LongNet today, very nice, very interesting as always. Happy to see you all, guys. And Gary, thank you very much for the details and the explanations regarding the Cobweb balloon. Very interesting. As I mentioned last night, I really intend to do something similar. I mean, not similar, but a Cobweb covering from 6 meters through 17 meters. Don't intend to do 20 meters. And the information you have provided certainly going to help. Now I'm just trying to plan it and try to figure out the best mechanical solution for that because we need, that the center of the antenna and also the rods. Probably gonna use, I don't know, fiberglass tubing. Yeah, still searching on that, and let's see what's gonna be the solution. But appreciate for that explanations, Gary. Benno, nice transmission from there, from your portable station. Really nice image, very good. Hello to everybody there. Greetings from Brazil, the exotic Brazil, and I'm sorry I don't look like a proper Brazilian Indian, but I'm in Brazil. And I admire you, Benno, for all your outside activity there. Always portable stations, going many places. That's really nice. Very nice, and thank you for the explanation on the DATV Easy as well. I downloaded the available version for end users. I think 4.25. So probably if I get some time this afternoon, I'm gonna try to test it. Very nice. Harry, Zulu Sierra 6 Mike Charlie, nice to see you. Long time. And happy birthday to your wife. Your amplifier there looks nice. I hope you can get necessary information to modify it. But yeah, the power supply and the amplifier looks very nice. Yeah, it would be a shame if you cannot take opportunity to use that for 2.4 gigahertz. But hopefully you're gonna find some solution on that. Leon, X-rays. Wow, that's amazing. You collect X-ray machines. That's really very interesting thing. And I'm wondering if you can get one of those airport X-ray machines. Those are nice. But this 1920. Seems very, very, very nice. Make some pictures or little movies to show us next night, Leon. Hello, Martin. Also, long time I don't see you, but very nice to see. Yeah, your transmission, your camera flickering a little bit, but not big deal. Regarding your cable there, your copper cable. Yeah, I never saw those multi-filler type of cables. I just got, enamel copper isolated, just one wire. But yeah, those multiple wires, I have no idea how you can get rid of the enamel. But I hopefully you're going to find a solution for that as well. Mike, regarding the IC9700, very nice. The solution, maybe the time I can get a 9700, I'm gonna use that one. I did similar thing, but for the TS2000, but very manual with keys on the front and relays inside. That's it, guys. I don't have much to show you this week. I just, trying to fix a very boring thing, just trying to fix some Windows computers. And I got a new, not a new, but a used laptop that was donated by my company. They are getting rid of the old ones, and they donated one piece for each of the employees that were interested, and of course I was. So trying to just to load everything back. It's an i5 ThinkPad, I think, Lenovo ThinkPad, not bad. 8 gig of RAM, not bad machine. And like I said before, nowadays it's easier to get those used laptops than the Raspberry Pi 4. They are cheaper, easier to find. And the Raspberry 4s are really expensive and hard to find. That's it, guys. Appreciate. And so going to Nick now. Go for India Mike Oscar. Hello to you, Nick, and hello to Bert, which is going to be next one. And hello to all viewers. Nina, Delta Lima to Go for Radio Charlie. And there was a guy from Belgium, I think, was watching. I don't remember the call sign, but everybody that is watching us through the internet. 73, greetings from Brazil. This is Papa Yankee 2 Radio November. Going to Go for India Mike Oscar now.
Yep. Okay. Ed? Yep. I've got my sound. Good. Right, hang on a minute. Okay. Put my camera on. There we are. Right, afternoon to everybody on the net. There we are. It's a very, very long net today, isn't it? So I think I shall try and make this as short as I can. It isn't as hot as it was last week. It's a nice, comfortable 22 degrees here. Anyway, I did make some notes here, made a few comments. Okay, on the Cobweb antenna there, Gary, that sounds an interesting little thing to put up. Yeah, the only aerial I've got here for HF is a 132-foot long wire that's up in one of these very tall trees. That's what I use on there. But to be honest, I'm not overly keen on HF. It's all, well, I wouldn't operate on the weekends because there are always these contests on there, you know, and it's sort of 5 and 9, and that's the QSO. Then you straight on to the next one. So I don't use HF very often. I need to make I want to make, well, on the satellite, I want to use the narrow band some stage, but I'm in two minds what to do. Either, because I've got an Icon 7300 here, so whether I could make a little transverter to use on the satellite, or use I've got the ports down 4 here, which I could use, but the problem is when it uses the Pluto, the Pluto has the original oscillator in it, so it's not really going to be stable enough. So that'll have to be modified. So I don't know what the easy option is to do that. Anyway, afternoon to PE1LON. Yes, I'm not sure of your name, but very good afternoon to you. And yeah, that campsite looks nice there. It's very good. I see most of the camper vans have the solar panels on the roof. I don't think they would work very well in this country. We don't seem to get a lot of sun here. It's warm, but we get a lot of grey skies. Henry, yeah, those RF modules look interesting. When you read out that the number of one of those devices, I had a quick look, and it was 1.93 G to 1.99, and as Mike probably says, they're almost certainly matched. So I don't. 2.4 is a long way off. I've heard people using devices that work on 2.1 G, using those on 2.4, but I think you might find that they're a little bit too far away. Leon, yeah, the Easy 2.04. Yes, I'm waiting with great anticipation for that. I'm using Easy 1.25 at the moment, which works very well. You have to switch it on about half an hour before you want to use it, and it's fine. if you try and switch it on and use it, what I found was over the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes that there were sort of interruptions in the stream, so it didn't work very well. And I think Martin G8KOE has commented on that as well, or somebody else commented on it. You have to leave it on for a while before you want to use it. But that Easy 2.04 sounds quite good. I think that station was Italian station, wasn't it? GAV. Is it IU4 GAV? I think he's been on there all week, I think, testing it. So seems to work very well. X-ray machines, yes, be very careful. Not only with the X-rays, but the high voltage, because at the airport they have X-ray machines there, and the ones that we had there were made by a company called Rapiscan. They had an X-ray source in there. It was very high voltage. I can't remember what it was, about 30 kV, might even be 50 kV, but very high voltage anyway for the X-ray source. And the X-rays come from the source, and they pass through your suitcase that's on the conveyor belt, and underneath is a big, large fluorescent screen. It's probably about 2 foot square, big fluorescent screen. And there's a high resolution, well, these ones had a black and white camera that was looking at the fluorescent screen to capture the image. And it had like a frame store in there, but it all had to be synchronized, but because the image, the 50 hertz frame of the image had to be synchronized with the X-ray source. Otherwise, you got like this line across the image. But yeah, so but be very careful there, Leon. They're very yeah. You need to watch the X-rays and the high voltage on those. Mike, yeah, afternoon to you there, Mike. Oh, and yeah, thanks for your advice. I bought one of these. That is my creme brulee torch. £5.99 on eBay. Excellent. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. And Ed, I like the cartoon at the front with Mr. Spock. Very, very good. Anyway, what I've been up to today, well, not today, but all last week, I've got a new feed. This is the what I was using. This is what I've used for the last 6 months. This is my homemade 4-turn helix that I used. But of course, when I was using this, it only gave me transmit. So I was anxious to be able to put the receive and transmit on the same 1.3 meter antenna. So I made a one of these patch feeds. I chose to use the reflector plate. I decided I wanted something quite thick because I thought, well, if it's thin, it might heat up in the sun and alter the spacing between the reflector and the driven element. So I got some 2.5 millimeter brass plate off of eBay. That was £8, very heavy. I thought, oh yeah, that'll be ideal. And then I realised, because I've got to cut a circle in this thing, so that was quite difficult. And then to make it, I had to heat the thing up. So lots of heat. But when the XYL was out of work last week, I used the electric hob. I put it all on there. And after 45 minutes on the hob, it still wasn't hot enough to melt solder. So with a combination of the hob and my creme brulee torch and a soldering iron, I was able to to melt the solder and construct it. Anyway, I've got a couple of pictures here which I shall quickly show. That's the feed on the antenna. I've got a close-up picture here. There we go. That's a close-up picture of the antenna, and it works very well. I put it on the network analyzer, and I'd made the spacing between the two elements to be exactly 3 millimeters. I got some shims with actually a washer and some very tiny shim material to make exactly 3 millimeters on a micrometer. So I made it up, and then after I'd soldered it all up, I put it on the analyzer, and it came up as VSWI was 1.2. So I didn't fiddle around with it. I didn't make any adjustments to it at all. I just put it on there and it worked. So I was hoping it would work slightly more efficiently than my Helix, because the Helix, even though I'd fiddled around with that for a while, I couldn't get the SWR down below 1.6. But anyway, it's all working, so it works very well. Right, I'll go back to my camera now. Where are we? She's on there. What else is there? I'll keep this quite short. Congratulations, Martin, on your promotion. Very good. Well done. The only other thing to say is my ex-YL has started a new job, so she's having to use the laptop to do these e-learning modules now. So I need to give her some support to do those. So that's taken up quite a bit of me time. Okay, that's enough for me. And I think it goes round to, dear, oh dear, PA3AOD. Yep, round to you, Hurt, and I will make this my one and only transmission, I think, because there's an awful lot of people on here today. So I'll say cheerio for now, and I am watching, and I'll see you all hopefully next Sunday. G4IMO. There's my test card. Let's have this test card for a change.
Yes. Oh, it seems to work. Eh? Okay, good day everybody. Evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are. Yeah, that's indeed a very long net. It's already for 1.5 hours. If I may believe the clock. Okay, this is just a temporary setup. I'm here with rebuilding my shack, that I will show you later on. Yeah, but I'll quickly pass everybody. Gary, about the cop antenna. Is that the same as a spider? It looks to me the kind of a spider beam, but probably it's something different because it's another name, so that's probably something more different. But anyway, it looks to me like a spider beam, with all those wires for every band. But, yeah, Benno was also at Bad Bentheim. He's in Bentheim. I was also yesterday in Bentheim. There's a 4-day event there. And I was yesterday also over there in Bentheim. There was a flea market. Just bought a couple things there. I spent less than 10 euros, so it was a cheap day for me. Probably the petrol to drive to Bentheim was more expensive than the things I bought. But anyway, it was a fun day anyway. Yeah, about that, the power amplifier, Henry. Yeah, it looks very nice, eh? It's professional made, that's sure. And yeah, I never heard of these power FETs, or transistor or FETs, whatever it may be, and if it is probably is special made for one manufacturer, because if you don't count anything, then it's probably a special one. Yeah, about the X-ray machine from Leon. Yeah, it looked me dangerous to play with it, and especially the old things. The new ones are probably much safer. And yeah, I don't like that old thing. And probably it's a lot of metal and very heavy. But if you have space enough for all that kind of equipment, yeah, it's nice to play with, maybe. But yeah, it's out of my reach anyway, that kind of equipment. Yeah, Martin is the new chairman. Congratulations over there, Martin. I saw it also last Thursday in the DATV net. Yeah, and the microscope. That's a nice view on that watch. I hope it is watch and not your heart that's beating around, because it was very quickly. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, what Mike had. Yeah, I got the same over here what Mike had, MJW. So over here, maybe you can see it. This was the Raspberry Pi, and one of the problem from call it the 9700, when you use the PDT, there's always only one PDT out there. So if there's a 270 or 23, it's always the same PDT. So there was a brief for me also to choose all the thing. But I make something extra. Also the CIV input is also used. It's a little bit noisy because maybe on the background, but anyway, that's no other way at the moment. I'm using also for switching the amplifiers. When I'm switching on the 2 meter, for example, or the 70 centimeter amplifier, it's choose the right frequency on the 7900 and also the input power for the amplifier. Because the 2 meter output from the 9700 is 100 watts, and when you switch on the 2 meter amplifier in SSB or CW mode, it switches down to 5 watts there, and that's all done by the CIV controller. Yeah, oh yeah, for Ed, I received last week some things, Ed. One confirmation for the SSB and the other one for the CW. Thanks again, Ed. It's 2 nice cards anyway, from a new DXCC country. Yeah, what I did here last week, or the last 2 weeks, was rebuilding my shack over here. Maybe I can show you with the other camera. Let's see if the other camera is working. Yes, it looks so. Oh, that's my microphone cable. You can see that's what you need for CIV. And you can see the new desk is made under the wall, and on the we got some computers there. Let's see. Oh, I see there's something happening with my MPEG signal. Okay, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I'm busy with building my, and that takes a lot of work to play with that. Let's see if we can switch over. Yeah. Okay, maybe this works better. Let's see. There is some problems with the camera. I don't know what it was, but MPEG didn't like it what I did with the shaky cam. Anyway. That's all from this side. Wish you a very wise week, and see you next time. And then back to Gary. Yeah, okay, Gary, to you back. From Papa Alpha 3 Alpha Oscar Delta, and Mrs. LD is give me some drinks, so I have to do something else instead of talking. Good day, everybody. See you next time, from Papa Alpha 3 Alpha Oscar Delta.
Okay. Very good. Let's just see if it's coming out. I hope so. Right. Papa Alpha 3, Alpha Oscar Delta. Hello, Bert, and hello to the lady in the background who brought you that refreshment. You're lucky. So with that, I'm going to close the net. I just want to quickly run through. Benno won't be on again because he's breaking up station. And Henry, very good on the amp. As we discussed, if you can have a few more amps in your 48-volt power supply, you might be able to even get more gain out of the thing because your 48 volt power supply is limiting it, and that's why you can't put out more. But it'll be interesting. As I said to you, you might have to do some snowflaking, playing around with caps and stuff until you can get it tuned better, and you might be able to squeeze a bit more out of it. But it's a good project, and you must have fun doing it. Leon, yeah, those X-ray machines, you know, quite a remarkable guy you are, playing around with radar stations of the past and X-ray machines. So it's going to be an interesting video if you can get one made. It'll be nice. And yeah, I suppose it is quite dangerous. But, you know, everything's dangerous these days, even too much water. Like one guy said, you know, you can die with too much water. I said, yeah, is that so? I said, yes, you can drown. Anyway, Martin, okay, I see you're the chairman, not the president just yet. Okay, something to aspire to then. And well done, all the same. And I hope it's going to be a successful and pleasant tenureship. Ed, very nice from your side. And of course, Mr. Spock there. It was quite good. You know what we used to do sometimes is take those days, a rand was worth something. It was worth about 50 pence. £2 bought, 2 rand bought a pound. There we go. So we used to sometimes take some super glue when it was still new, you know, when super glue was an in thing, yeah, 1978, and then stick it onto a counter at a shop. And you see these guys come in and try and, they can't move the thing. Then they look and then they try and wiggle it out. It was good fun while it lasted. I couldn't figure out how the heck does this thing work. Nick, good to hear you, and good signal as usual, no problem. Good audio, and noted on the wife using your computer for learning. And of course, Bert, yeah, very good from your side as well. And the new shack's going to look really, really nice. With that, guys, I'm going to throw the ball in the air, close down the net, and whoever wants to continue can do so. We had 28 viewers on YouTube, and we have a guy in Mozambique. He's ZS6SPY. I've forgotten his Mozambican call sign, but Alpita sends regards to all, and he's watching on YouTube for the time being. With that, this is the Worldwide Net going to close station and just throw the ball in the air. And if you do want to continue, Henry, you can take it next. This is ZS6YI, now going QR Tokyo. Have a nice week, guys.
It's that button, Leon. It is that button. Okay, guys, thank you very much, and very nice indeed. Thank you, Gary. Thanks for running the net so well. And thank you to everybody that made comments on this ballot.